Welcome back, friend. If you're new, my name's Jen. We have a lot of thoughts and stories, news, ideas that we kick around here. And welcome aboard. I'm glad you're here. So I thought I'd start with a couple of freak stories. I used to do these a lot, freak stories, but somewhere along the line, people got really thin-skinned, and you couldn't do a story and call somebody a freak because that's not kind. That's not. I'm a pretty kind person for the most part, but when somebody's doing something freaky deaky, sometimes you just have to point at it and say, that's a little weird. And I think maybe that's what's happened to society. Somewhere along the line, we were told we're no longer allowed to say, that's a little weird. And because of that, Catherine, she's a Virginia woman in her 30s. And apparently she hasn't eaten food in 5 years. She says she snorts it. Everything from coffee to snake to guacamole. She blends it first and then she inhales it through a straw. I saw that episode of Nurse Jackie. What are you doing? She said it started as a dare in college and she loves the head rush and she's never looked back. She claims it helps her avoid choking, which, okay. What about aspiration? Isn't that a thing? Yeah, apparently it can be. Yeah, it went really sideways. She went on a date with a guy to a cafe and she casually inhaled her iced coffee through her nose in public. He was horrified. Everybody stared. And I don't think there's going to be a second date. Probably not. And that's okay. She says everything's fine. The doctor said, you can get food in your lungs. You get infections. She's trying to quit. She's taking baby steps and she's cut back. She's cut back on her snorting of her food. Anyway, tell another story. A guy who has been diagnosed with an extremely rare condition called foreign language syndrome. Now, apparently, he barely knows Spanish. Well, when he's conscious, he barely knows Spanish. But every time he wakes up from a surgery, which my first thought was, dear Lord, how many surgeries have you woken up from? I mean, but he's had a handful of surgeries. And every time he wakes up from a surgery, apparently the first time he's 33 now. The first time he experienced this, he was 19 years old. He had a knee surgery and he could kind of count to 10 in Spanish, right? And then he woke up from the anesthesia and he started carrying on full conversations in Spanish for like 20 minutes. And then he snapped back to English like nothing had happened. And the craziest part was there were nurses there were like, please go, but we don't understand what you're saying. Please go back to English. And he didn't realize he was speaking Spanish. Which begs the question, if nobody understood him and he thought he was speaking English, how do we know he was at? It could have been gibberish, but it's happened enough times since then. Doctors have diagnosed him with foreign language syndrome, which is so rare. There have been like 100 documented cases since 1907. That's crazy. Apparently, it can be triggered by anesthesia, brain injury, stress, or trauma. And it's happened repeatedly. He's had several surgeries over a decade. And every time he comes out of the anesthesia, it's Espanol, which is just wild, but okay, more power to him. I think I might have this foreign language syndrome because it seems like when bad things happen, I have a tendency to say, pardon my French. I don't think that's actually French, though. I'm just saying. If you have not yet heard, Elon Musk's ex says Grok will no longer undress pictures of real people. What? Why was it doing it anyway? Why was it doing that in the first place? Why are we in a place where we thought it was okay? That it was okay to have AI undress people? Like, what? And the sad thing is, it's hard to tell the difference between AI and reality sometimes. Like, I will go to the comments to look sometimes. I fully admit this. If I see a video, especially a video of an animal that makes me laugh, because there are a lot of videos of animals that make me laugh, and I will run to the comments and look, and inevitably, at least 50%, it might be more than that now, the comments will be like, I'm afraid for our future. I'm afraid for the future of humanity. How do you not know that it's AI? And I've asked on occasion, how do you know that it is AI? I mean, once upon a time, you could tell by like the extra limbs, the extra fingers, there was always something weird. The problem is AI has access to everything that we have access to. So, and it's learning. It's constantly learning. So the mistakes that it made in the old videos, it's not making those mistakes anymore. It learned from them. It went to the comments and it learned, oh, there's too many fingers. Okay, let me check on that. There's too many limbs. Let me make sure I don't do that again. And the videos have gotten progressively better. So sometimes I swear people just say, I can't believe you didn't know it was AI, just to say that. And I think that, honestly, they also don't know that it's AI. I really think there's something to that. I do. I think there are a lot of people that are in that same boat. I mean, I remember I saw a video not too long ago. You probably saw it if you spend any time online. It was a deer jumping through a window of like an Outback Steakhouse or Texas Roadhouse. And it landed on a table. And the family at the table is like a family of four, freak out because a deer just leapt through the window and landed on their table. And I was like, oh my gosh. And immediately went to the comments, and people were very quick to point out how they knew it was AI. And once it was pointed out to me, like my brain will do that thing. You know how they do those tests where you can see a bunch of words spelled wrong, and the test is to see if your brain fills it in and makes the words make sense. And most of us, yeah, that's exactly what happens. Our brain fills it in and makes it make sense because that's what our brain does. It fills in the blanks. And so I would look at these videos and they made sense to me, even though there may have been one or two things out of place. But in the comments, I remember specifically in the comments of that one where the deer came through the window, it was, you can tell it's AI because look how no one else in the restaurant is reacting. And the deer actually runs through a busboy if you look very closely. And so I went back and looked, and I had just not noticed any of those things. But it was very true. If you really looked and paid attention to the details in the background, then yeah, you knew it was AI. The thing is, more and more I'm finding now when I run to the comments because I'm looking at a video and I'm like, I don't know if that's AI or not. People will make the comment that, you know, I worry for those who can't tell that this is AI, but they don't explain how they know. Like they used to be very excited to tell you, oh, see how nobody else is reacting, or oh, if you watch long enough, you'll see the deer run through a human. That's an AI mistake. And now they just say, oh, I can't believe you don't know it's AI. I can't believe you don't know it's AI. But they don't explain how they do know it's AI. You know what I'm saying? And so I think AI has learned to the point where it's just, it's a little too smart. It's a little too smart. If you've ever gotten the sense that somebody you just met isn't as nice as they come across, pay attention to your hunch. There's a new study from the Journal of Nonverbal Behavior that reveals that self-centered or domineering people have higher levels of stress hormones and that they emit a unique scent. And so even though you don't know you smell it, you smell it. So you literally, they don't pass the sniff test. Like they literally don't pass the sniff test. You smell something funny on them, you actually do smell something funny on them. So I've always said, you know, I trust my dog. Like I don't necessarily trust people more than I trust my dog. My dog is, by the way, asleep right there on that chair. Hi, bro. Yeah, pound boy. I don't shop, I adopt. But they know. And when you consider that a dog's nose is so much more sensitive, their sense of smell is so much more sensitive than our sense of smell, it kind of stands to reason that maybe they really do. Maybe they smell it out. Maybe they smell. My dog has liked most people in my life. Every once in a while, though, there'll be like that one person that he doesn't stop barking at or that he just doesn't seem to trust. And I'm like, I gotta trust my dog. I gotta trust my dog. And finally, one more thing I just wanted to cover today because it makes me laugh. NASA said we're days away from going back to the moon. Have you heard this? NASA said we're days away from going back to the moon. Same NASA who said we lost the technology to go back to the moon suddenly says we're days away for the first time in more than 50 years. Apparently, the earliest launch date for Artemis 2 is February 6th. God bless. That was my mother's birthday. The launch window is open from January 30th through February 14th. It will be the first crewed mission beyond low Earth orbit since 1972. It's a 10-day mission. It's going to send 3 NASA astronauts, Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, and Christina Koch. as well as Canadian astronaut Jeremy Hansen on a trip around the moon and back. They're not going to land this time. They're going to go around the moon and come back. And apparently in 2027, they plan on landing on the moon. So I don't know how we went from losing this technology to get to the moon to suddenly finding the technology so that we can go back to the moon. Maybe they just need another check written. Maybe. All right, I gotta go. I'm gonna make dinner. But yeah, it's always a pleasure to see you. Thanks for dropping by, and hopefully I will see you tomorrow. Have a great night because you deserve it. Remember to be good to each other, my friends. Peace out.